Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. I want you to imagine that you have nothing in your life besides the clothes on you and your life to hold on to. And you're in this position not by choice, because you have to go. You have no other choice. Being a refugee is a very, very hard situation, and I don't believe a lot of people in more developed countries with more wealth are considering the situation they're in, at least to them. So just imagine again, having nothing on you but your clothes and your life to hold on to. Now, this has happened a lot in history. It has happened in my country and a lot of other places. This is the Armenian refugees in 1917, which had to leave my country because of a genocide and a complete cultural clash between the Ottoman Empire. Millions had to leave, and none of them had a choice. They were all exiled from the land, and they fled to Iraq. And again, imagine yourself maybe as a Jewish refugee in the 1930s in Germany. Would you have any choice but to leave that country, or what would happen if you stick around? And again, you could come to this status not only because of war and other political things or ethnic clashes, but sometimes it's natural disaster that puts you in this position as well. In the 1999 earthquake that happened in Istanbul, hundreds of thousands of people were displaced, about 500,000 were left homeless. And they all fled to nearby cities and countries. So what we have that would put people in refugee status is things like war, things like persecution due to political, ethnic, religious, or social identity, and other natural disasters. Imagine a volcano exploding a mile away from your village. You have to leave. You have no choice. You're going to be buried under all the rock. Or a tsunami. So in 2011, a war erupted in Syria. Now, this war has had many sides to it. It has had many things that have been going on, but generally, the most affected population has been the Syrian population, because they are the ones that are being displaced, and they're the ones that have lost their homes. Now, millions of Syrians fled to nearby countries. About 2.5 million of these actually fled to Turkey, millions fled to Jordan, and a few million others fled to Iraq. But eventually, these refugees would reach Europe or reach the United States or Canada, other locations that they would try to escape to while escaping this war. Now, it's very hard to compensate for refugees at this large scale because the funding to find for these people is just so hard. And honestly, we have been caring a bit less. And just a few numbers about the number of people who have left Syria. 4.5 million have been forced to leave Syria, 2.5 million are in Turkey, and 1.1 in Lebanon, and 600,000 in Jordan. Now, I want you to think not about the number of people that have actually left the country, but think of the percentage of actually the countries that they are going to take over. So the 1.1 million Syrian refugees in Lebanon actually consist of 24% of the population of Lebanon. So think of the things that people living in Lebanon would have to do for Syrian refugees that are forced to live in their country. We can do more. This is a Italian refugee camp in Jordan, which is under 80% is under the local poverty limit, not the global one. It's very bad situations. And this is the Kilis refugee camp in the east of Turkey, which is not a bad refugee camp, but thinking that there are thousands of people still at the borders, it's inadequate in size. So the UN humanitarian appeal for Syrian refugees is just over 40% funded. This is important because this clash is still going on. Even if ISIS ends very soon, there is still a clash to go on with the Syrian government in the east, and it doesn't seem like the area is going to stabilize soon. But when we look at the stance that our governments, European governments, the US government has been taking, it's not enough. And there's this nativist vibe that has been going on that motivated Brexit, that actually Trump used a lot in his campaign, which is really supporting fear against the refugees. We're fearing change, we're fearing sharing with refugees. And more than all, we are creating this fear of terror that will actually come to refugees. I think it's really important to remember that in the fight against terror, the people who have lost the most are actually those people that are running away from their countries, not the people that are thousands of miles away. So don't consider the fears that comes along with the refugee crisis and comes along when you take refugees into your country. Just emphasize with what they're feeling, because they have lost absolutely everything to terror and to the war. So the possibility of a small threat of over a few thousand people just doesn't seem adequate enough to send them away or not let them in. And some people, like Britain, have been inadequate in the way they're kept up to refugees. It only took in 20,000 refugees, while 2.5 million are living in Turkey. Germany has taken a really good stance. They have over 100,000 refugees. But what Brexit did actually finalize Britain's position on refugee crisis, and it went a different way. But it's wrong to get into these nationalist and nativist vibes just to get rid of the refugee crisis, because it's people they are talking about. And what happens when nations actually start to refuse refugees, close their borders, is actually worse. Because you have to remember, those refugees have no choice but to leave that place. If the nations close their borders, they're going to go to other ways. And what that happens is human trafficking, and has been very bad in the Mediterranean for the last few years. Thousands of refugees who find boats, and human traffickers, which will make them pay each 4,000, 3,000 euros individually to get to Germany. They would overload these boats and send them across to Greece or to Italy from North Africa. This is extremely dangerous, and thousands of people have died drowning in these situations. So consider the results. Now, the next few photos might be a bit shocking, just want to make you aware. People have been drowning in Turkey. I actually have seen the life jackets that have been shuttered across the island of Simi last year summer, which is a very similar scene to this one. This is what happens when a boat sinks and thousands of refugees are forced to swim ashore. And what I'm going to show you next is going to be a bit hard, but last November, another one of these boats sank across the Turkey, and the drowned bodies were hitting ashore. And one of them actually created a big movement against the refugee crisis. This is a picture of a 3-year-old Syrian child hit off the shore across the shores of Bodrum, which is a summer location which all Europeans use for touristic in the summer. But we can't ignore what's going on. It's people's lives that are at stake. So share a pen and accept the reality, at least write about it, accept it, talk about it, so we can move towards progress, and take a stand against what's going on. Like many of you might have done this before, but it's important to realize the reality, constantly remind ourselves of the reality. We're talking politics. These are two politicians that have really said nice things and done nice things about the refugee crisis. I want them to use as an example. Justin Trudeau, when accepting Syrian refugees for the first time to his country, said, "You are home, welcome home." And this is the kind of mentality that we need to show to all refugees. And here are a few things you can do about the refugee crisis. You can donate to Amnesty, which will increase awareness, and they also aid the refugees. But for directly aiding the refugee camps and things in the United States, you can donate at unrefugees.org. But remember, when you're making a choice between which one to donate, or whether to donate or not at all, just remember, they didn't have a choice.